Mr. Breedlove, when it comes to Peter's previous claim that we have every reason to believe that in 100 years people will value gold for the reasons he previously said, why should we have the same level of confidence in 100 years that people are more likely to value Bitcoin and it will hold its value?
Boy, I really don't like the word should, and I'm not here to be prescriptive to anyone. Again, I think it's just, for me, a matter of saying a future that is digital, that has electricity, internet, and AI. What percentage probability do I assign to that world, to the future of the world going that direction? And what probability do I assign to the future of the world going the direction of no electricity, no internet, no AI? That's how I look at cash balances, because ultimately Bitcoin is the dominant money in that world where you need to move money trustlessly without promises through telecommunication networks like the internet. And gold is the medium for moving purchasing power trustlessly in a physical environment. So that's how I frame it up. I can't tell you why people should believe Bitcoin will be here in 100 years. Gold, I would give gold this one. It's much more likely that gold is here in 100 years than Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's only been around for 15 years. So if the Lindy effect is true, right, and that the life expectancy of a technology is proportional to its lifespan thus far, which is like inverse to what an organism is, right? The older I get, the shorter my life expectancy becomes. But the older an idea gets, the longer its life expectancy becomes. Well, gold's been around for 5,000 years as money. I don't expect it to be gone in 100. Bitcoin's been around for 15. All I can tell you is that when I look at what is money, and I get down to those 5 properties of money that we went through, Bitcoin effectively perfects all of them. And that is very interesting, right? So the rabbit hole I want to jump into at some point is, I heard Peter say on one of the podcasts that, can you think of one example in human history where something that man had made that man did not later make better? That's a rabbit hole I would like to jump into at some point.
Let's go through the 3 characteristics that Mr. Schiff brought up, and then I will ask you if you have any questions for him or statements you'd like him to respond to. I'll do that for each of you. Mr. Schiff, you mentioned money needs to be a store of value. What are the problems with Bitcoin? Why is gold a better store of value?
Yeah, I mentioned that because Bitcoin doesn't have value that can be stored. Gold, when you own gold, you're storing the metal that will not decay over time. It will not tarnish. When they find a shipwreck, some Spanish ship went down 500 years ago, and they've managed to salvage it, and generally all that's left is the gold that they were carrying, and it looks exactly the way it looked the day it sunk. Everything else is destroyed by the sea and the elements, and the gold is as pristine as the day that they made the coins. And so gold's value doesn't go away. Bitcoin doesn't have value. It doesn't start with value, so there's nothing to store. What Bitcoin has is a price, and I would concede that Bitcoin has, for now, a high price. But you can't store a price. A price represents a glimpse of a moment in time based on supply and demand. How much Bitcoin is there that people want to sell, and how much Bitcoin do other people want to buy, and where they intersect at any moment in time is going to give you a price. And so Bitcoin has a price, and the price has gone up a lot since it was first created. But you can't store that. No one knows what the price of Bitcoin is going to be in the future. No one knows if Bitcoin will have a price at all. It may not even be here.
Mr. Breedlove.
Yeah.
Mr. Breedlove, when it comes to store of value, what do people need to know about Bitcoin's store of value benefits?
Yeah, if I can semantically disentangle this thing. Again, if value is subjective, you might be asking yourself, how can you store value at all? And the answer is, well, actually, you can't store value. A value cannot be stored, right? What are you doing? You're basically holding an asset and speculating that other people will value it in the future and will be willing to trade you something for it. So store of value is actually preserving purchasing power across time. And you have to speculate in order to do that, because you never know what other people are going to want. This is the nature of markets, right? So when Mises said that all human action is speculation, I think he was pretty right about that. So what we're talking about with money is something that moves purchasing power both across time as a quote unquote store of value and across space as a medium of exchange. And you could take it a step further and say, as a unit of account, you're kind of moving it across the minds of people, because we need to use it as a language, basically, to communicate with each other. So gold's great at moving purchasing power across time, because it has a very rigid supply, but not so good at moving purchasing power across space, which is why we introduced gold-backed currencies, so we could augment the portability of gold and make it more transactable across space. So in a gold-backed currency, we have a really good solution, actually, right? We can move purchasing power across time because it's pegged to gold, and across space because it's in the currency format. However, we've introduced counterparty risk, right? We must trust that the currency issuer will maintain the peg to the gold and not run a fractional reserve or ultimately a zero reserve fiat currency bank. As the world has shown, people tend to violate that trust and give into that temptation. So currency ends up being something that's really good at moving purchasing power across space, but not time. Because what happens with time, people violate, the custodians violate the trust that is placed in them, and they start to overissue the currency and ultimately move us into a fiat currency standard. So this is the problem we've been dealing with across all of human history. And I think it's the problem that Bitcoin solves, because it's effectively optimized for moving purchasing power across both time and space, because Bitcoin has a fixed supply, meaning that its purchasing power cannot be debased through supply inflation. And it's a natively digital, non-physical asset, so you can move it at the speed of light and custody it in very highly secure ways that you cannot secure any physical asset.
So your main problem then with gold, because obviously I can store my gold and I can transfer ownership electronically faster and cheaper than you can transfer your Bitcoin. Your main problem is you're saying that you don't trust the custodian, that the custodian is going to loan out or embezzle my gold, or they're going to do something. And so gold can't work in the electronic world of the future because you can't trust counterparties, that we're just, we're criminals, and capitalism doesn't really work in that respect, because there's no way to know who's honest and who's a crook. And you can't trust counterparties. Let me ask you, Robert, do you have any insurance at all? Like life insurance, fire insurance, health insurance, auto insurance? Do you have any insurance?
I'm not saying that you can never trust counterparties, but I'm saying you should have recourse to an asset that does not require trusting counterparties. That's what holding physical gold is. Let me ask you, Peter, do you hold physical gold?
I have physical gold, yes.
Okay,
but
why don't you just keep it all with the custodian?
Because I want to have some readily available, just in case I need it.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you.
But you're saying that it doesn't work if it requires trust in a third party. So
I'm saying it doesn't scale. And historically, I think that's been pretty borne out.
It doesn't work on scale. So
it doesn't scale. Why did we end up with a
you don't think insurance
standard?
Companies scale? How many customers do you think big insurance companies have?
No,
in fact,
I'm talking
the more
about
customers,
money.
the better.
I'm not talking about insurance.
You spread the risk. No, but you're saying that gold won't work in the electronic age because it requires a custodian, right? I can transfer my gold to anyone in the world faster and quicker than you can transfer your Bitcoin.
You can transfer a promised gold. You cannot transfer gold faster.
No, I can transfer the ownership of the gold. If I have my gold stored in a vault in Switzerland and it's my gold, and I have a digital claim to that gold that I can transfer to you, and now the ownership goes from me to you, I'm giving you my gold. You're now the owner of that gold. Whether you want to go to the vault and get it is up to you, but you own it. I can transfer the ownership of the gold at lightning speed for nothing to you. If you could be in Australia and I could be here in Puerto Rico, and I can send you your gold and you'll get it faster and cheaper than if I try to send you Bitcoin.
Yeah, as long as you're not in the United States in 1861, Germany in 1914, United Kingdom in 1931, United States in 1933, France and other countries in 1936, or the United States in 1971. Well, those are all the times gold redeemability was suspended.
By governments, not by a private. If I have my gold.
That's what I'm saying. Government is a counterparty risk. Government is a counterparty that violates your right to your asset.
No. What if the government isn't storing my gold? What if my gold is being stored by a private party in Switzerland or someplace that I trust, and they've never seized the gold?
That's up to you to trust. I just say in Bitcoin, we have don't trust, verify. You have something that you can actually verify and you don't need to trust. And there is value in that for me. And I speculate that there will be value in that for other people. And that speculation has proven to be very on point for the past 8+ years.
you don't trust government. So what if government bans Bitcoin and they makes it a crime for anybody to hold or transact in Bitcoin, and the punishment is maybe 20 years in jail, maybe death? I mean, who knows? They can put the death penalty. Somebody caught with Bitcoin. What do you do then?
Yeah, I think you fight it on the grounds of First Amendment, because
Well, you're talking about a corrupt government.
Code.
Yeah, but they have no right to seize my gold either. You're talking about a corrupt government that illegally confiscates gold. Well, why can't they ban Bitcoin?
Well, they can ban Bitcoin, but they can't so
then what's
easily
going to happen
seize
to
it. They can't so easily seize it. So even in 1933, when FDR issued Executive Order 6102, the cost of all the enforcement points of going door to door and taking people's gold tends to be a little bit prohibitive. So that's not what governments do. They
Plus
go to the custodians.
Right.
So with Bitcoin, you don't need to run that risk, right? You can just have some purchasing power that's not so easily
Bitcoin is on the blockchain, right? So in 1933, right, when the government told everybody to turn in their gold, they didn't even confiscate it. They didn't send government agents door to door taking people's gold. It was the honor system. It's like they trusted people to take their gold and give it to the government because it was an emergency.
It was
right.
Coercively threatening people.
Yeah, I mean, there was a law, but they didn't send troops. Nobody got arrested. Nobody went to jail for not turning in their gold. And a lot of people did not turn in their gold because the government has no idea that you have it. And I could take gold and I can give it to somebody. The government has no idea unless they're spying on me, unless they've got cameras and they're looking at me. But they know Bitcoin. If you have Bitcoin and now they make it illegal and they're monitoring the computers, they can find the address. They can see if any Bitcoin. They can find me. I mean, look at how many criminals they've busted and confiscated Bitcoin, right? I mean, Bitcoin is not this secret thing where the government can't figure out who you are. You're leaving a digital footprint every time you transact. If you're saying that we're going to go to a world where everybody's Bitcoin is written on a piece of paper, and the only way I can transfer my Bitcoin to you is to be in the same room with you, where I can hand you that piece of paper in secret, right? Then you've lost all of the advantages that you're talking about. So if you're worried about government, it's far more likely that government could ban Bitcoin than gold.
Yeah, I don't think people will transfer Bitcoin on paper. I think there will be collaborative custody between multiple institutions where private key is segregated into pieces and shared amongst institutions.
No institution.
I mean,
will
you can
touch
say
it
that
if it's
about
illegal.
gold too, Peter. It's like it's all speculation at the end of the day.
But that's what you're arguing against gold. You're saying, well, the government can seize it or confiscate it.
No,
the government can do all sorts of things.
I'm not arguing against gold. I'm just saying it's less concealable and more seizable than Bitcoin. It has its place in a certain view of the future, and I think Bitcoin has its place as well.
Well, we'll see. I don't think Bitcoin has a place. We'll see. I don't think the mania can go on, that much longer. It's already gone on for a long time. But in the scheme of things, it hasn't.
If you enjoyed this clip, click here for the full episode and here for more just like it. Also, like this video to help shine light on the corruption of money and subscribe to stay connected. Thank you.